Welcome to NFL Picks Week 3. Check out our leaderboard right here, strolling on the ticker. See who is in the league at this particular point. It was a bizarre week in the NFL. Check out the squad show. We talked about the NFL, some of the games. We're going to go right to the picks because it's Thanksgiving week. And you know the first game that they always show on Thanksgiving is the Detroit Lions. And they're playing the Green Bay Packers. It's Green Bay at Detroit. And everybody's going with Detroit on Turkey Day except Windhawk and Yinder Mama. They're going with Green Bay. So you're picking Detroit. Detroit didn't look too good against the Giants. What's up?
Who knows? They're up and down. Like I said, I think we are believing that this is the same team from a couple years ago. I really believe that the coach that left them and moved over to become the Bears head coach has really made a difference. And I think that's the difference in the team. But regardless of the fact, I still think that they have enough to win their game at home on Thanksgiving Day.
All right, let's go to the next game. Kansas City at Dallas, which is the second game on Turkey Day. Papa's going with Kansas City. I'm going with Kansas City. Al and Dredd are going with Dallas. Windhawk and you are going with Kansas City. Ball is going with Dallas. Drake is going with Kansas City. And Yuzermom is going with Dallas. I remember Southside Al said last week, Kansas City's done. I was sitting there like, I can't believe that. They got to pull one out. They pulled one out against a real good Indianapolis team. They went to overtime. And so they were able to pull that out. And Dallas, I think Dallas, when they came back against Philadelphia, I guess they made people some believers, huh?
I guess so, but I'm not mad. I guess the one thing for me is, and I hate to bring this up, but I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, the factor that they lost a teammate, his passing. I think they were fired up about that because it's understand this guy was a good dude, and I think that the factor that they were grieving and they used that as energy. Really sad to say that you had to do that to win, but I think that happened. I think they come back down to earth though this time, and it's Patrick Mahomes. And I think they're on a mission to win, and we'll see. I'm not really sure that I buy into Dallas having the ability to have consistency on this level, particularly against a team like Kansas City.
My thing with the Philly game is that you have Saquon Barkley and you don't run him because Dallas is weak with the run, defending the run. Now you have another back. Kansas City has another back. I wonder if Kansas City will go in the running game a little bit. Give those offensive linemen. I've heard John Madden say this so many times. Offensive linemen like running the ball so they can go downhill and punish defenses. And then you go to the passing game where they're backing up and they can, really kind of handle their guys. But a lot of teams don't do that. They just come out firing, throwing the ball. I guess that's the NFL today. I'm not sure where we're going with that, but John Madden said it best. It's like they like going downhill. Feed the running back, let the defensive line fire off against that defense and soften them up for the passing game. And that was Oakland Raiders' strategy with all those running backs that they had. Next game on tap is Cincinnati at Baltimore. Everybody's going with Baltimore. Slowly but surely, Baltimore is sneaking up into that first place spot where they need to be. And they're doing it quietly. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody's talking about Marmar. They're just doing it quietly. And Steelers are kind of fading and they're banged up. The defense is trying to keep them in games, but it's just not enough.
Will we see Joe Burrow?
Yeah, that's another thing too. On Turkey Day. All right, because that's the last game on Turkey Day. Next game on tap, and I am not picking this team that everybody seems to think they're a playoff team and think they're hot. Chicago at Philadelphia. I'm going with Philly. Everybody's going with Philly except Windhawk. So why aren't you going with Chicago? You said they were a playoff team in our last show. Why aren't you going with them?
Just because I said they were a playoff team doesn't mean I need to stick with them every week. This is week to week, right?
Yeah.
This is I have to dissect the situation and deal with it. I think about the way the Philadelphia lost to Dallas,
Ooh,
where they just didn't have oomph. And I think they kind of rebound, come back this week coming up because of the way that they played. Feeling as if they really need to prove themselves. So to face a team like Chicago that I mentioned that should, I think they're playing like a playoff team. to get a hard-earned victory over them and really maybe embarrass them, then it will make it seem as if that Philadelphia's telling everybody by beating Chicago, don't take our place away, right? We still are the top dogs. So I think they can do that by beating Chicago soundly. So that's why I chose Philadelphia.
And I believe that's a Friday night game, so or a Friday game, and so it'll be after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. And you know how Philly fans do if they're not playing well. Poor Santa Claus in the in the audience in the stadium, they're gonna boo him and beat him up and all that other stuff. Please don't do that to Santa. Next game on tap is San Francisco at Cleveland. Shador came out, played, and showed out. Papa's like, I'm going with Shador again, along with Windhawk, and everybody else is going with San Francisco, who is playing tonight against the Carolina Panthers. Let's go to the next game. Jacksonville at Tennessee. Everybody's going with Jacksonville. It's a wash for Tennessee. I'm thinking that Tennessee should save the quarterback, the young quarterback, put somebody else in. The season's a wash. Why get him out there and get hurt? But take him out at this particular time. Try out some new players and see what you got for next year. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, if he goes through these last couple weeks and knows that he finishes as a starting quarterback, I think I would probably cut down his time, right? Because you still want to be out there on the field as the starter for so many weeks, and then maybe cut down on his time if the contests get out of hand. Plus, two, it shows that he's still in the leadership role, and you want to continue to build with him. That's what you want to do, and show the team that he's still leading and has not quit on them, despite the factor that it's clear you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, they played a competitive game. I'm speaking of the Tennessee Titans yesterday, but don't get them banged up. Don't get them hurt. You're going to need it for next season. This is an interesting game, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Houston at Indiana, or Indianapolis, I should say. Everybody's going with Indianapolis except Dredd. He's going with Houston. Houston surprised us last week. I don't know what was going on with Buffalo. Maybe they were tired. It was Thursday. I'm not sure. But they let the Houston Texans beat them and beat them bad. So, your thoughts on this particular game? Because I'm not sure if Indianapolis is still really kind of healed from that game, that overtime game against Kansas City. Maybe this is the turning point where they go, you know what, we're banged up and we can't really kind of compete with Houston. And Houston's coach, coaching for his job at this particular point.
I think part of it for me is the reason why I would go with Indianapolis is the factor that actually another stat came in my head. You look at it this way. I said all year long, Indianapolis goes as Jonathan Taylor goes. So looking at it from that standpoint, Jonathan Taylor had 16 rushing attempts. He had 58 yards.
Yeah.
He's due to explode. And what better way than against Houston? Houston's defense has been coming on a lot, but I think at home you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor, and I think that spells disaster, unfortunately, for Houston. So as I said before, wow, think about that. Jonathan Taylor, good cousins, bad cousins, right? This week, good Jonathan Taylor, because with only 58 yards, I think they want to get back on track and do some damage, and they definitely can do that against Houston.
And I saw that Kansas City was really keen on the run to make sure he didn't get off. And I said last week on our show last week, if they could run the ball on Kansas City, it's going to be a long day for Kansas City. And they keyed on that. Maybe they listened to the show. We don't know. Next game on tap is New Orleans at Miami. So this is an interesting game, but only two of us went for New Orleans. Now, Dredd loves New Orleans. He's going to go with New Orleans, hook or crook. And I got to go with him on this one. I saw what you saw last week against Atlanta. And I'm like, if they would have made a couple of key plays, they could have won this game against Atlanta. But it was good Kirk Cousins, and he played a decent game. And so they got, but everybody else is going with Miami. I think Miami had a bye week last week, and that's why everybody said, hey, they're rested. But I don't think Miami's that good of a team. And so your thoughts on this, man?
New Orleans only out to dry. I did select them.
You did pick them last week, yeah.
And if they would have won, I could have been maybe up or whatever, been another game or whatever, but I could have at least earned the game, right?
Yeah.
But instead, they let me down. So with that being said, I should have known better. I didn't. So I can't buy into it. I can't buy into it. So, as you mentioned, Miami's rested. Their coach will probably get in the way, but I think the players will play hard. And if it's at in Miami, I think it
Yeah,
is. Then
in Miami.
I just the inconsistency of New Orleans, I can't do it. Just can't do it.
All right. Next game on tap is Atlanta at the New York Jets. Everybody's going with Atlanta except Windhawk. So we got to get him on the show, bro. We got to get him on the show. We got to do an intervention because he's number 9. There's only 9 of us. He's number 9. So I know he's going to get me for saying that. But yeah, he's the only one to pick the New York Jets. Maybe the Jets will with Tyrod Taylor. Maybe they'll pull it out, but everybody else is going with Atlanta on that one. Next game on tap is Arizona at Tampa Bay. Now, I'm the lone wolf on this one. I saw Arizona. I thought they could have won that game last week, but everybody's going with Tampa Bay. I don't know if your boy's going to be playing because he has a hurt shoulder. And I don't know if that backup can really kind of move that offense with all the other hurt players of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, why are you going with Tampa Bay with the backup quarterback?
At first, I didn't know that Baker Mayfield may not play, but that really didn't change my mind because from the standpoint, Arizona up is up and down. They've had some injuries. Now, I will say that the backup quarterback has done well, but it's a toss up with him as well. One week he'll have 424 yards passing, the next week he'll have 68. So, with that being said, if the Tampa Bay defense comes alive, it could be either a shootout or they could be in trouble. But I still think that with the game plan that Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers have, and they have enough weapons, they still can win that game.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Arizona will try to pound that ball and dunk and dink all game to keep that defense on the field and wear them out. So the third or fourth quarter, they are no good to anybody. But I'm going to stick with Arizona on that one. I'm the lone wolf. Next game on tap is the Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. And Carolina's at home, but Pop, Puma, Southside Al, Windhawk, you, Baller, and also Drake and Yinzermama. We're all going for the Rams, and Dredd is the only one going for the Carolina Panthers. You know, he's a short guy, so he's going with the short quarterback. That's the only rationale I can. And he'll get me later. He's in Florida, so he'll get me later. He's gonna watch this show. But anyway, I don't understand that pick, but I know he's probably trying to pick a upset to catch up. But short guys unite. No problem with that. Next game on tap is Minnesota at Seattle. Everybody's going with Seattle except Dredd. He's trying to catch up, so he's picking the upset. He is picking the upset. Next game on tap. This is going to be an interesting game. Buffalo at Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is at home at this particular game, and they're probably really kind of mad about that game yesterday in Soldier Field with Chicago. So Yin's mom, of course, she's a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. She's going with Pittsburgh. Ball is going with Pittsburgh, and Pop is going with Pittsburgh. Everybody else is going with Buffalo. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Buffalo laid an egg, right? You laid a bad egg versus the Texans. So on the road, so coming back home, I think they'll have enough, even if Aaron Rodgers comes back to play. Again, Buffalo has to show that they are still worthy of receiving championship or playoff credentials, and also somebody needs to say, yeah, they belong, still belong. So this is a good time for them to prove themselves, particularly against Pittsburgh, because if they are able to win this game versus Pittsburgh, then they put Pittsburgh in a deeper hole, which
Yeah.
means they may not make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I was really tempted to pick Pittsburgh because of their defense and the way people have been handling the Buffalo offense these days. It's like they can't do what they usually do. It's like they caught up with their playbook. And so I was really tempted to pick Pittsburgh at home, but I have to go with Buffalo. Maybe they'll come out with some innovative plays, play calling. And if Aaron Rodgers is not playing, then I can't see Pittsburgh winning that game. I don't believe in Mason. Next game on tap is Las Vegas at the Los Angeles Chargers. I was really, because this is a rivalry game, and it seems like every time you don't pick the Raiders in this game, I remember the playoff game they played and won. I think the Chargers were trying to get in the playoffs, and the Raiders were going to let them kind of tie or get into the game, and they didn't, and the Raiders kind of beat them out. But everybody's going with the Chargers in this game. I still don't trust the Chargers. It's going to be a late game, but I still don't trust them. So we can move on from that because that's going to be a Queen of the Pigs game. Next game on tap is Denver at Washington. I think Washington had a bye week. And so everybody's picking Denver except who?
Windhawk.
Oh, Windhawk, come on the show. We need an intervention. So I don't know if Jalen Daniels is playing, but I keep seeing the chunky soup commercials. So maybe he's not playing. Don't you ever do those commercials ever again. So everybody's going with Denver. Denver is the team to beat. It seems like, they beat Kansas City. They beat some of the top teams. They're leading in their division. And they have, I think, if not the best record, one of the best records in the NFL. Next game on tap, the last game, the New York Giants against the New England Patriots. Nobody's going with the Giants. They can't hold a lead. This is their fifth or sixth game where they can't have a team beat, and for whatever reasons, whether it's play calling, bonehead plays from their players, or they just don't know how to close out games, they can't win games late. And so New England, they're trying to win that division. I think they will win that division because of the way they play. Your thoughts on this game?
I think the Giants have difficulty, as you said, holding a lead. But kudos to Jameis Winston. Famous Jameis was doing his dance, and I like it because every once in a while you can look back at where a player has a flashback of what used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You say, well, that's why they really drafted that guy, and then they last for about 20 minutes, and then you can move on. So, famous Jameis had a day. They still lost. I just don't think that as much as they're having fun, whatnot, I don't think they have enough to kind of get by and be consistent. So they'll probably hang for a while, and then slowly but surely you'll know what's going to happen at the end. They're going to make you want to make the Giants fans excited, especially with Scatterboo being injured for the rest of the year. Make you excited just enough about next year. And that's what they're doing. It's like, we're playing real hard. We give everything we got to do in the fourth quarter. We go away. And then you go, well, you know what? But next year, Scatterboo come back. We do some things right. We get rid of some of these old quarterbacks and get some other people. And we get a couple of draft picks before you know we are right there. We're right where we need to be. Philadelphia going to be slower. Dallas can't get out their own way. Washington quarterback going to be a problem. But we can be right there too. We're building for the future. We're going to have a new coach. We're going to have a new everything going on. Let's go. Giants.
Famous Jameis Winston caught a touchdown pass yesterday.
Yeah.
It was the slowest touchdown I've ever seen in my entire life.
But to his credit, he was slow as molasses. But did you see the juke though? He juked. He was like, oh, that's the
juke.
Not the 58-year-old juke. He was like,
I was watching the highlight going,
but he made it. He scored. Then he gave you the dance at the end.
Man.
He gave you the dance.
Detroit, you need to be ashamed of yourself. Those are our picks. Check us out on the squad on Facebook for our picks, leaderboard, and updates. We'll see you next week in week 14. Famous Jameis caught a touchdown pass and ran it.
Crazy.